are busy enjoying, playing out of the shadows. You are the only one that holds you down. Even the bravest kind gets turned around.
This is the story of the spirit of a man and his redemption. His life crossing paths with my client, living in the now. Two people from totally two different time periods, overlapping each other. It's the story of forgiveness, seeking peace, understanding. Honestly, a catalyst for them both. My client moved into this home approximately 10 years ago. How could she have known when she moved into this house that she would be changed forever? Forever. That she would come across the spirit of this man who in so many ways needed her to help redeem him so he could move on. It's a beautiful story. It's a painful story. But in the end, what holds us here truly is demons and angels that walk within ourselves. So I want to share with you kind of a little bit of an update of the turn of events that have occurred in the past few weeks. So as you know, I was going to meet my client, and that was a pretty powerful meeting. Normally when I do a walkthrough, generally speaking, I walk through the location and I get a sense for the spirits that are there, how receptive they are to me, how welcoming they are. Can I get a feeling that they're going to communicate with me, or do I need to kind of spend a few visits almost like introducing myself and establishing a little bit of, I'm not really going to say a friendship, but just really establishing a little bit of a peaceful introduction. The purpose of why I'm there, and just get a feel for what I'm dealing with. Most times I like doing walkthroughs where I am not influenced at all by anything that comes from the homeowner or my client. As well as there's no research that begins in the beginning. There's really no information for me to go on. And that is normally very important to me. This particular case, being as sensitive as it is, it was really important that my meeting with her was about establishing my character and my client's trust, because this woman is afraid for her life. And I know many people may think, well, gee, what can a spirit really do to you? Well, I want you to think about this for a moment. What I have discovered with her is that this spirit has been affecting her more powerfully every single year, getting stronger by the day. And it's been with her for 8 years. You know, we hear this often about, you know, things that are happening in the house. I mean, we've seen this on so many of the TV shows. Something's happening in the house, and so the people move. And they never have any paranormal experiences again, because all of the activity and the things that were occurring were isolated to that house. Well, this isn't the case. Okay, this is not the case. This is a case where this woman has moved multiple times and the energy has moved with her. It's haunted her, not necessarily where it is that she's living. So that's one really different dynamic to maybe the average case. The second thing is that she is physically at a point that it really is causing havoc with her mental state, her spiritual state, and her physical state. She is being pinned down in her bedroom. She is having incredible pain occurring in her legs. She has some physical things that are happening with her mouth. And I'm going to tell you that just sitting and talking with her, there were moments, and I did not want to alarm her any more than they were, but there were moments that while looking at her, I swear that her jaw and facial features around her mouth were changing. She truly feels that this person is trying to take over her body. That's scary. It's extremely scary for a person who really doesn't understand all of this, okay? So her reaching out to me was very difficult. I mean, this woman was afraid for her life, thinking that things are going to be worse if she reached out to me, but knowing that she needed to reach out to me because she wants her life back. She deserves to have her life back. Crying on the phone out of fear. And that pisses me off. You know, it pisses me off because personally I feel like this, you know, it's one thing to be bullied by somebody you can see physically and you can do things. It's very difficult to be bullied by a spirit you cannot see. Okay? So I have a mission. I have a mission here for certain to help this woman in all ways that I can. And sitting down and meeting with her was the first step. It was more important than, just kind of leave me the key to your house and let me walk around and get a feeling. This was more about establishing some trust with her. I explained the process. I explained who I am. We talked about some of my past cases, some of my different experiences. And we talked a little bit about, what is going on with her. Before I even stepped foot in her apartment, I was getting visitation while driving. And I told her I had a woman in the back seat. She had I couldn't quite tell if she was, honestly, because I was driving and it was kind of like just awareness of her being in the back. I couldn't tell if she had like a cloak on her or if she had like a Muslim garb on. She basically was all dressed in some capey kind of black thing. I could not see her face, but I knew it was a presence, of a woman. She was extremely quiet, and she was just there. I almost felt like just sitting there, minding her own business, and just being there. And then the presence of a man, an older gentleman, coming in, very dominant, very strong character. I felt that he had this man was dominant. This man ruled the people that were in his, I didn't know if it was like a congregation or the people that were in his group. I almost got the feeling like I couldn't quite tell if this was like in an occult, if this was like a Ku Klux Klan kind of thing, because I was seeing somewhat hooded people. Wasn't sure if it was like a religious sect or what it was, but I could definitely tell that it was a group of people that were also a part of him. And he was showing me, he was a very violent man. I felt like there was, and I also didn't know if it's something that he had a large family, because I felt like, especially in that time period, because this is back, it was an older style time period. He's trying to show something. Something is really bothering this man. Whether it's that he doesn't feel he can move on, we'll get to the bottom of it, but something is really bothering this man. He started to show me a farmhouse. And I cannot describe, again, when I'm driving and this happens to me, it's a little bit tricky. It isn't really good to just zone out and then, it isn't going to do anybody any good. So I basically kind of, this part was really just coming in quick imagery. And he showed me this farmhouse, and I saw like lots of, I almost felt like it was overgrown farmhouse. And I felt like he lived there. He and this woman lived there, or that this is where they came from. Okay, so I'm opening up communications. I'm kind of sitting in a kind of an attic-y type of room. I know you've been kind of hanging out with me all day, so one of the things that I'm going to remind myself to do is I'm calling on Archangel Michael to be here with me now and to be the gatekeeper for me, for this connection, for this communication. I'm also asking my man in many feathers to be here with me now and to also be the gatekeeper. So I'm sitting in a kind of an attic-y type of room, and I'm opening up communications. So the energy that's around me, just to help identify you right now, can you tap the first letter of your first name? So A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, can you tap the second letter? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, R, G, sorry, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. I know. The reason why I'm doing this, okay, I know it feels like a lot of work for you, but because as I was having you do that, I could hear the letter R, like, okay, really, you know who I am, but it helps in just validation for me. And can you type the third letter? Okay, so is this in fact Frank? Yes, okay. So I guess, Frank, one of the things that I think I had said this to you before, but I use these rods because sometimes I want to really understand you. I want to be able to hear you. And, even though my talents at times or my abilities can be pretty on cue, sometimes I don't always hear very well. Sometimes I don't always see really clearly. But so I use the rods to get a little bit more definite answers. Okay. So I appreciate you using them. I really do. And I have to tell you, I was so excited that that first of all, I knew that your name was Frank before I had a chance to meet you. I also knew that there was an Evelyn involved, and I shit you not, being at the cemetery and having my son Garrett say, "Oh my God, Mom, there's an Evelyn. There's Frank, Evelyn," and I'm like, wow. It's just it's a neat thing because we're in different time periods. You know, I'm alive right now, and you're not, and we're communicating, and it's such validating. Okay.
I never get names. I never get names.
Yes, you do.
I don't normally though. I guess I doubt myself on names and I don't say them because I never, when you say someone's
And look
name,
what's beside it. Lucille. Lucille. I'm going Lucy.
Lucy. Frank, Evelyn, and Lucy. So there's something to do with this family. There's some issue. And
I just feel like I'm trying to understand the dynamics of what's going on with you. Okay? Yes. So you understand that? Do you understand that I am here as a non-judgmental person to you? Do you understand that? Okay. Do you feel that I am judgmental? Do you feel that I am trying to judge you? No? Okay, well that's good because I want you to understand that I'm not. It's not for me to judge who you are. It's not for me to judge your life. So something's bothering you. So can I ask you some questions? Do you feel that there's something that's weighing heavy on your soul? Because I feel it. Like, are you feeling something is like unfinished? Is it that it's unfinished? No. Okay. Do you feel that you've done things in your life that may be deemed bad in the eyes of the afterlife? Okay. Are you feeling like you're going to go to hell? Okay, you don't want to answer that, okay. Are you feeling that you're not going to heaven? Okay. Have you done something to someone? Is there something that you've done to somebody? Yes, okay. Was it a family member? Was it somebody within your family? Yes, okay. And this is causing a lot of pain for you in your spirit, in your soul. Yes, okay. Do you feel remorse about it? Do you feel to blame? Okay, I'm kind of giving like a no, but like you're not quite sure. Do other people feel you're to blame? Yes, okay. Do you feel that you did what you had to do? No? Okay. Is there a way that you can... Does it involve somebody's death? Can you spell the first name, so the first letter of who it is that you're talking about. Okay? So A, B, C, I'm sorry. So C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Can you spell the second letter? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U. Okay, so is this in reference to Lucille? Okay, so a lot of the things that we were talking about in the cemetery that you were with us, were we kind of pinpointing a couple things? Yes. Did we have some things wrong? Yes. Okay. Okay. So,
Did Frank do something to his wife? Frank, will you speak with us? Were you the one in Karen's car? Were you the one that came in her car? Was your wife with you? Was the woman in the car? Frank, are you the one that comes and visits me? The things that you've shown me, Frank, are they things that have happened to you? No.
What about his daughter, Lucille?
Frank, did these things happen to Lucille?
I'm getting like the vibe that he did something to Lucille, to his daughter,
That he did something
and
to
that's
her?
why Jonathan's mad, or like is expressing
Is Frank
disrespect.
religious? I mean, like, is he was? We haven't researched him. We don't know him. I don't know. I know a little, but not. I don't know if I went down because I went. Frank, were you a part of? Were you a reverend? He's not here now.
No, he's
No,
not.
he's
yet.
gone now.
The
I
minute-
feel it.
was Lucille your daughter? Okay. Was it in fact that she was a baby? And was she born stillborn, not breathing, not alive? Did your wife give birth to her in a normal fashion? No. Okay. Boy, you have to just kind of back up just a little bit, okay? Just a little, because you're like giving me a pounding headache. So there were a lot of complications with your wife's birth. Yes, okay. Did you have to help deliver the baby? Do you feel oh my God, did your family think that you did this on purpose? Were they all watching? Yes and no. I'm hearing you say yes and no. Were you in the room with your wife? Were there people outside that were waiting for the birth? Okay. Were they family that was outside? Were they also townspeople? So were they excited waiting for the birth of your child? So do they think that you hurt your wife? Did your wife die that day? No. Okay. Did your daughter die that day? I'm so sorry. This, the gentleman that's speaking to me, again, I know I'm asking you this, but can you point to where you are in the cemetery? Where is your grave? Right there. Okay. Is your name Jonathan Fields? Yes. Can you point to where your wife's grave is? Okay, so it's right there. Not going over as far as this. Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. So, this is your entire family line in this grave, this cemetery, correct? Okay. Were you the original property owner of the lots in Lover, Mass? Yes. Okay. Can you point to where those houses, we were seeing 3 houses, can you point to where those houses are? What direction would they be in? Okay, so we're noting that the houses are over there. I have a feeling that 3 were on that property. We can't tell if one possibly is not there any longer. It's 2. So my next question is, are you the gentleman that has been coming to us
you've been trying to get our attention. Is it about a family member in your family? Is it an issue that has to do with you personally? No. Okay. Okay. Does it have to do with one of your sons? Yes. Okay. Are you able to tap the first letter of which son this is in regards to? So A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. Is that son's name Frank?
Okay, what do you want me to do, Frank? Can you spell what is it that you need my help with? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. What's the second letter? A, B, C, D, E. What's the third letter? A. And the fourth? A, B, C, D, and the next? A, B, C, D, E. Are you trying to say peace? Are you wanting me to help you have peace? Peace within your family and peace within yourself? Are you not able to see your family? No. Okay, so we might have asked. So, where you are right now, can you see your wife? Okay. Where you are right now, can you see other family members? No. Do you feel you're trapped in like a hell? Okay. Is anyone holding you there? No. Okay. So my next question to you is, I'm trying to understand Do you realize that the woman Kathy, do you know who I'm talking about when I say Kathy? Okay. Do you realize that my client, okay, is not related to you? Do you understand that? She's not a part of your family. She hasn't done anything to you. Other than maybe reach out to you because she could sense and feel you. Okay? Have you been trying to show her something? Do you feel there is someone to blame for what happened to your wife? No. Okay. Okay. One of the things that I have to do, okay, and I really need you to understand this. I really need you to grasp this for me, okay? I can help you, okay? I can help you. And I will help you. What you have to do, there's a couple things that I have to do in order for this to happen, okay? The first thing is, and I want you to understand this, okay? I need to understand all of the bits and pieces of what you've shown to me and what has been shown to me, okay? I need to understand your name fully. I need to go back to the cemetery. I need to go back to the farmhouse because I want to understand the dynamics of what occurred there, okay? Does that make sense? Because what it does is it helps identify you for me in a little bit of a better, it's just what I need. It's kind of like what I need. I need to know, I need to be able to document for you, okay? Because I feel in order to help you, I need to show you and document for you what happened. Does that make sense to you? Okay. I want to be able to document for your family because your family has reached out to us. I feel that this is unsettled for them too. And I need to be able to show them what really happened. Okay? And what I need you to do, though, is I need you to really let go of Kathy. Because I know that you're trying to show Kathy really hard what happened, but she can't help you. Do you get that? That she cannot help you. And the more that you scare Kathy, the more that she won't let me be a part of this. Okay? And I'll be honest with you, I won't really want to help you fully. Well, actually, that's not very fair to say. I'm sorry, that's not fair to say because I'm going to help you. I really don't want you to hurt Kathy anymore, okay? And I know that you don't understand it to some degree, but I think you do. I think you're frustrated. I think you're pissed off. I think this has been a timeless thing for you, okay? And you're reaching out and you're lashing out and you're trying to get somebody to pay attention and you're trying to tell what happened. And in some ways, deem yourself in the good graces of the community and the afterlife and your own peace in your soul. I understand that. I do. So help me, okay? Help me by letting Kathy be because Kathy's going to want to help you. Okay? When I tell her all of this, she's going to want to help you. The interesting thing about it is that the client, okay, so we'll say, our client has had the feeling of being observed, people watching, being held in her bed, and people watching, and the awareness of being watched or whatever, okay? And feeling violated, somewhat sexually, okay? I see this vision to some degree.
Okay, here it is.
So it was picking up Karen.
Oh. So I see this vision of people
why?
watching.
Because you have to call Bixby.
Sometimes it does come on.
Oh, does?
Yeah. I don't even know. Sometimes a word might trigger it.
Okay.
But so then Ange has her experience of, which she'll explain,
Okay.
but she has her experience of being in a bed, lying, watching. So when we look at that and he talks about, I will love her,
I love you.
oh, I will love
I
you
want
the
you.
way that I want to, or something like that, and people observing. Doesn't it say something about and standing there observing, or
Something, yes.
right? What does the first sentence say?
I will love the way I want to. And that was like you there, I lie in his regular described person viewing the other people around. And I have a shoebox team up. I do have having dictation program computers find all RA, and then you are okay. So I your pronoun or letter UN up pops a spot by Revolutionary Revenue. Okay, this recyclable provide full control of all Dragon. Okay, now that kind of, because this is the Dragon
Right.
Because I
speaker thing, right?
because I
Right.
said to your mom, I said, I do have a Dragon program on here that has capability, but I need the microphone plugged in.
And then the piping to now what I hear, I will love the way I want you. What was like I love you there, I live viewing other people around. Now video you think you more than you're happy you possible a euro.
Because Karen says you need a video, and I said,
Right,
okay,
so
I
a
got to get
couple
out the
words
video.
are-
So there are a couple words there,
But I will love you the
And
way
the
I want to
piping.
love you.
but you have to you have to watch the video of it, and what we're saying when we're saying it. It's not any of those words, except for, like I said,
No.
video.
Right.
us-
So he is using, and this happens. I mean, energy
So-
uses
Yeah,
devices.
So what-
some of the words and twist them a little
Right.
bit. But most of the words you guys probably didn't say, and it's just,
we did not.
We never
It's
talked
just
about I
typing.
will love you till you'll whatever, and viewed people, and we didn't
Right.
because we weren't even talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And-
there's a riddle there to
and
me.
I was
It's like
stammering
that's a-
because I'm trying to. I'm reading it, it's
She's like,
typing, and I'm going.
It's
yeah,
time. I'm like, oh my
it's-
god! And then you could probably hear me because I think I'm saying, "Video it. You should be videoing this."
Yeah. Yes. It should take you. Yeah, down. So when your mom was talking to me about the case, I stopped her and I said, well, I see this little old man, buggy eyes, kind of a roundish face, but he has pointed teeth, sharp teeth, like needle teeth. Not just sharp teeth, needle teeth. and he has a sneer. So when he smiles, it's more of a sneery smile. It's not like, hey, I'm glad to see you. It's like, oh, I'm glad you're here. So that was my first thing with it. Then a few days, I think it was a few days later, I had what I thought was a dream. And I thought it was about 1 o'clock, and it actually, according to my Fitbit, was 2 o'clock in the morning. So, and I wasn't dreaming. So my Fitbit shows that I'm awake for 5 minutes, which I knew I was awake because when you wake up out of a dream and you turn in your bed, usually your dream disappears, right?
Right.
The vision still kept playing. And even though I rolled over a couple of times, the scene was still happening. And in the scene, I didn't say anything, but whoever's eyes I was looking out of, and I can tell you that it wasn't me there, but it was my eyes that were seeing it. And I don't know if it was really a bed or a casket or what. I can't say it was a casket because nobody was weeping. And there were multiple people in the background, and everything was in black, white, and gray tones. There was no color. And that's what made me think of a dream at first, because everything was so monotone. And so in this, this guy's face comes in close enough where I could feel the vibration of that closeness, which I thought awakened me, but I was awake, but it wasn't sharp enough that I could tell absolute features. I couldn't tell you the eyes in that. It was just the presence of the face coming in. That face then went out. The people are still in the background. Then comes in a woman's face in a bonnet. I could see the bonnet. I could see this very small lace. And I'm not sure it was really lace, if it was a ruffle, but it was so small. It was maybe a quarter of an inch that was high around her neck. And the bonnet was very plain. The lace wasn't frilly. It wasn't Victorian. It wasn't all that gobs of it.
Dressed up, right?
Right. And so, but the look on the face, or what I interpreted was the look of concern. So it was like they were coming in like it was somebody that was ill or somebody that was hurt or something like that. I did not feel threatened.
So who is this family? The only thing that I got on it, like I said, was something to do with a father and a son.
Yep.
And I got the name Frank. The woman, I never got any information. She has not talked. She's been very, just observes, quiet, doesn't talk. Well, but I haven't initiated really with her yet because we haven't been able to communicate.
Yeah. The main family that has lived in this house has been a family by the name of Field. And the name does go back into the Revolution. And there were also a couple preachers, ministers of the Congregational Society.
In that family?
In that family. Then it's not until like 1940s. Now the house was built in 1750. I have not found minute records to go back to that to see about who built that house in 1750. But in 1790, that family's there. That family pretty much ran the town. Was the selectman. Was the record keeper. Was everything. Was the mediator.
So there goes the authority.
A lot of authority.
A lot of authority and a lot of
religion.
Power.
Yeah,
religion.
and with that. And that the house is like handed down, but I don't find that, I have not found that transfer yet. And it probably, maybe we'll have to go to the courthouse or wherever it's held here and just start backtracking through. I have backtracked through present day back to 1930s and the array of people that have lived in this house. That family, the name being the longest living in there. But it was funny because
So in all of the research that was done, Angie went through hours and hours of researching this family line. And we felt that we could have gone on an entire episode just about this family and all of the different family dynamics involved. When we went to the cemetery, as you've seen in the video, when we went to the cemetery, we had an entire family that was following us around. It wasn't just this man, Frank, that was communicating with me and communicating with Angie and also communicating with Garrett. We had other family members that were trying to show us through imagery and through just listening and hearing them, were trying to also show us the events that had occurred. So this family, the Fields family, really started with, and Jonathan Field, Captain Jonathan Field, is the oldest grave in the Leverett Cemetery. The entire family line is in this cemetery. And Jonathan Field, very much so, communicated with us in regards to his disappointment and this feeling an abomination, I think were the exact words that he used, an abomination with family member in his family line, of which he spelled out that it had reference to do with a family member named Frank. Now, this family, the Fields, really, just to kind of give you an idea, they settled in the 1700s. I think it was 1750 that the Field family settled in this particular area. But this is a family rich in history that goes obviously back into the 1600s. And you're talking about a family that truly put Leverett, Mass. On the map. The cemetery, all of their properties, basically took up that whole particular town area. They created the town. And they're very rich in history from the Revolutionary time to World War II, with many reverends and deacons and captains and just very powerful people, very powerful men, very much authority figures to their townsmen. Now, one of the things, and they owned an incredible amount of property. They basically had everything. They settled and they had property everywhere. They were, the town was rich with the railroad. There was a railroad station, there were stores, there were homes, there were people that were coming and going. And it was a very productive land that the Fields owned. So, and there was a lot of pride and a sense of pride in everything that we read and we studied. They even had the Field Tavern, which was kind of like it reminded me of like the old Western towns, like a stagecoach area where people would be kind of coming and going. And this tavern was like some people had meeting houses, which that came after. But in the original settlement, think about a tavern, people would
like I said, it reminds me of the Western movie. That was the place that everybody would come and go in and out. Of course, people with the railroad would be coming and staying. So there was a lot of energy that came through this small area of this town. We're not talking about a big town that has land spread out everywhere. This is a smaller town that had really its land all in a central spot. And from the property houses on the main street that all of the Fields owned, you could see the cemetery off in the distance. So everything was there. I mean, you could see the church, you could see the cemetery, you could see the school. I mean, everything was there that this family was a part of. The family had an incredible amount of religious ties. And in those time periods, in like the 1800s, churches were basically like our government, to some degree, the government within a town. And the people who ran the churches, and they called them societies, and they were groups of people that ran that church. And the townspeople paid taxes to be a member and to be a part of that church. So there went this long line of history in the Fields family of these men being deacons, preachers, pastors, and very strong in their religious beliefs. And there was also a lot of controversy over if you didn't pay the church, they took cows and pigs and farm stock from you. And many of these societies were trying to separate. They do it now, trying to have their own church that would be maybe a little bit different than the original church that was in that area. So you can kind of see the pattern of this particular family. When Frank's name came up, and I kept trying to understand, why is this man here? So Frank Field, Ange was able to document that he lived in that farmhouse that my client moved next door to. Like I said, there were 3 houses that the Field family and this Frank really owned and was a part of. And my client worked and lived and went in and out of many of these houses because she took care of her neighbors. So she was in and out of many of the original homes of the Field family. And during the time period that she lived in this house, she had a, and I really can't go into the personal dynamics of my client, but she had some very horrific things happen to her that were a catalyst for other things that happened to her in her childhood. And she had basically a nervous breakdown in that time period that she lived in this farmhouse. She was very strongly into substances. She had some addiction problems, and it just really was a very low time in her life. And she did, it's sad to say, but she did attempt suicide. And just to kind of give you the distraught sense of this woman, she attempted to commit suicide and woke up 2 days later. No one checking on her. In some ways, no one really caring what happened to her. So she was going through a lot of things. During this time period, she started to become aware of energies that she was seeing. She became aware of this man and this woman that she would see on the property next door.
And as she started to acknowledge them, and she was really in a place of being incredibly lonely in her life and trying to pull herself out of it, she, in many ways, created that acceptance of communicating with them. She started to see them and really begin to open up her own personal gifts that she didn't even know that she had. So in a sense, she invited this man and this woman to kind of become friends with her. As odd as that sounds, but when you communicate with an energy and you begin to see them and recognize them, and she was very lonely, so she started to feel like inviting them in. And when she did, things grew a lot stronger. And she became aware of them everywhere. She, as I stated, she had a lot of experiences with this, this energy. So to sum up a little bit, Frank, why is Frank at this property? Well, Frank was a very well-known man in the town as well. We couldn't quite tell if he himself was a deacon, but he had a lot of authority in his town, and he owned a lot of the property. And there was some kind of shadiness as to whether some of the property that he owned, he had taken from family members. So there was some documentation on this, but he basically was a very strong farmer and property owner in Leverett. He had a wife, Evelyn, and he had a daughter, Lucille. And it was a horrific thing that occurred with his family. His attempt to show what had occurred. And I think that this entire experience that was happening with Kathy, my client, is that he wasn't in fact trying to do these things to her, wasn't trying to hold her in her bed and physically harm her. Oftentimes, people who have mediumship abilities, people who have empath abilities, people who have spiritual abilities, all of them, can confuse spirits that are trying to communicate with them as an attempt to hurt them. We see this all the time. Oftentimes, somebody is affected by something paranormal, and immediately they think that the paranormal spirit is trying to harm them and trying to hurt them. And it isn't always the case. They're trying to show you something. So in essence, when this came, because I kept thinking, why is this man doing this to this woman? There's no connection. She's not a past relative. There's no connection other than the fact that she lived in this farmhouse. And I really believe that the catalyst of her living in this farmhouse, going through her own personal nightmare at that time, brought about this man in spirit who is also lingering there, feeling that he can't move on. Feeling, as you saw, that he needed peace. His family members, Jonathan Field, and many of his family and the people of the town were also there, and they were interacting with Kathy as well. And it was totally understandable that you would think, including myself when I first went there, that is this a cult? Where are all these people coming from, and why are they focused on this woman? I believe that they were trying to help Frank. They were trying to get him to also see them and come home with them, basically. Because there's this thing that occurs, and I've learned this really just through the experience of working with spirit on the other side and working through these cases, is that there is this experience where some energies that are more earthbound, they cannot see higher above them. It's kind of like, imagine being on the first floor of your house. You really cannot see the roof. But when you go up to the roof, you can see below. So in some ways, there's like these levels. People who cross over and people who are very, very settled and they've moved on, they can see everything. They can see everybody. But people who are really focused in their emotions and whatever it is that's holding them back from moving on, that is what they're living in. That is what they see. They don't necessarily see their loved ones that have already moved on. So there's almost like this fog that occurs. So here's Frank, who does not know how to move on, feels that he wasn't a nice man, admitted to me that he wasn't a nice man, that he had things that he was ashamed of. There were things that were just tearing at his soul, and wanted peace. Wanted peace. So what he was trying to show my client, unfortunately, he really thought that she would be able to help him, because imagine being a spirit that nobody can see you. No one can hear you. No one can communicate with you. And all of a sudden somebody does. All of a sudden, imagine being a spirit that is just in misery. And a woman looks at you and she acknowledges you and she sees you. She can't fully hear, so what could he do but to try to show her? She interpreted it as, this man is trying to violate her. This man, these people are doing these things to her, and making her feel very sick and going through all of this stuff. That's how she interpreted it, until we got to the bottom of what happened to Frank and Evelyn and Lucille. So the scene goes as this, and Ange was able to dig into the research to be able to show that this is what had occurred. Frank and Evelyn. Now, Evelyn was a teacher in the town, and she was also a very well-known, prominent woman. Not really 100% confident that Frank did not abuse his wife. I feel that he held the upper hand. I also feel in that time period, women submitted to their husband. Whether they wanted to or not, they submitted to their husband. And I do feel that some of that was maybe not a reciprocated emotion. I don't know if there was a lot of love between the two of them, but they did have a child. She was pregnant. And it was documented that this was going to be a home birth, which would not be uncommon. Especially in this kind of a small town, you would not be trying to drive to a hospital. I'm not even really sure that a hospital existed at that particular time period. But her labor was not going well. And there were people in the room. There was a doctor in the room, and there was also Frank. And the townspeople were outside. Many of the family members were outside, obviously excited because this is their first, waiting for the arrival of their child. And something went horrifically wrong. And I don't remember the word in which it was written down, but basically from what the record showed, it appeared that Frank had to help assist in an emergency, what we would say is a C-section. They had to take the baby out of her. And the baby was stillborn. And her name was Lucille. And we kept hearing, Angie kept hearing in the cemetery, Lucy, 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 before we noticed where the graves were. Garrett was the one who actually saw. I kept hearing Evelyn. I knew that his wife's name was Evelyn. which I remember being very shocked because I don't normally hear names. But Ange was hearing Lucy, I was hearing Evelyn, and Garrett, upon wandering in the cemetery, found their actual graves. We were on one side of the cemetery, he was on the other. And she was stillborn. Everyone in the family somehow was led to believe that he did this to his wife. They never had any children after that. And Evelyn did live a long life after that. There was a little bit of a document so faded that we couldn't really read it 100%, but there was a document writing that we could get bits and pieces of it stating that Evelyn had some paralysis and to some degree bedridden. So all of the things that my client was experiencing, we truly believe that Frank was trying to show physically what happened to his wife and the remorse of that. It all made sense of Kathy feeling pinned in bed, her lower extremities, things going on in her lower extremities that she could not explain, feeling that there were people outside watching her and couldn't tell if they were supportive or if they were not, or if there was fear or what was going on, but all these things happening. It also totally explains the feelings that Ange had in some of the visions and dreams and visits that she had from Frank, him trying to show her as well what occurred. So this man was in a desperate need to want to explain and resolve what happened to his wife and his daughter. And for him, things were never the same afterwards. So in helping this man, I was able to bring his family members in close enough that he could see them, and brought his wife and his daughter to him so that he was able to make peace with them. It was an amazing touching experience to see this man being embraced and accepted in his family, and really walking away with peace. With peace. He didn't really set out to hurt my client, but I think he was so desperate for someone to understand what it is that he needed to move on. So the after effect of this was also teaching my client how to work with her mediumship abilities, how to understand them, how to help shield them. So between me and her therapist, we are working on strengthening her